Well, greetings friends, brethren, watchers, viewers, listeners. I'm here right in my hometown Uzice. It's a town in southwest Serbia. We've just passed through the so-called green market, which many countries do have still in the world, but many countries in the Western Hemisphere don't really know what is a green market. Here is also one of the roundabouts, and right now we are at the plateau between the two museums. One is the Municipal Museum of Uzice, and the other one is the museum of the so-called Uzice Republic. Uzice Republic was the only free territory during the Nazi domination in Europe in the Second World War. It lasted for about 3 months, and that was the only free territory. So this town and its surroundings was the only free territory in Europe for a while, before the Nazis, of course, made an onslaught and conquered it again. I just wanted to show you some of these nice things in this city, or some most important things. Well, the green market is the most important thing in any city in Serbia anyway, so I wanted you to see. This is Sunday, it is May 22nd, so it's Sunday, it's pretty much deserted, but nevertheless during the working days and working hours it's much more visited and populated anyhow. And so now we're going to go behind these two museums, these two museum facilities, because you're going to see some of the things that are related to the history of this place. A minute ago we were just in front of these two museum facilities, and right now behind these two museum facilities, two museum buildings, we have a statue of Josip Broz Tito. This statue used to be at the very main square of this town, because in those 3 months of the so-called Uzice Republic, the only free territory in occupied Europe, Josip Broz Tito was as the head of the partisan movement, and he spent all that time, all those 3 months, right here in Uzice. So in the past this town used to have an adjective Titovo Uzice, meaning Tito's Uzice. The monument, as you see, is quite impressive, and again it used to be right there at the main square city. But then when the communism fell, well, or better to say, this country was never a communist, this was really a socialist country. It was a very specific socialism. It wasn't as brutal as it was in the USSR or in some, and it wasn't as repressive. Well, in certain areas was not as repressive as it was in some other countries. But in any case, this very monument used to be very visible at the main square, but sometimes, I think it was 1991, when the socialism collapsed completely here, both in former Yugoslavia and also in other East European countries, the monument was removed from the main square and it was put here behind these two museums as a symbol of one time, as a time of the post-war. Now, Tito during the war was the head of the partisan movement, and the partisans actually were using the occupation of Serbia and former Yugoslavia really to impose their ideology. So they were resisting the Nazi occupation on one hand, on the other hand they were actually working on carrying out their own socialist or communist revolution. So after the war they imposed themselves as the power and were ruling basically the whole former Yugoslavia until the 90s, until the 1991, when former Yugoslavia completely collapsed, as well as all the socialist order. Right next to this monument, right next to it was there's like lagoons, you know, they're just like the tunnels, the underground tunnels. Now these underground tunnels were used in the Second World War, in those 3 months of the Uzice Republic, as ammunition factory. So the partisans were having here ammunition factory, and they were producing ammunitions for resisting the Nazi occupation.